made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Chiro Moguls, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Pete Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, Rhino Coaching, 5-Star Management, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Health USA, Max, Mahalo Wellness, and Chiro Expert. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 107 of Chiro Hustle. That is a big number. I am your co-host Luke Millette. Here's your host Jim Chester.
He's only saying that is a big number because we're not at episode 207 yet. But today was Dr. Jenna Zellars, and if you guys want to learn about their creative flow for a chiropractor, stay tuned. Dr. Jenna, tell us your chiropractic story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor.
Well, Jim, at 6 years old is actually the age I was when I knew that I wanted to become a chiropractor. It was just this seed that was planted in my head very early on. My mom was actually in a car accident before I was ever born, and that left her just kind of permanently damaged. She had a very weak neck, and she received chiropractic care right after the accident, like many do. But her chiropractor told her, like, hey, if whenever you need me, just call. And he didn't put her on a regimen. He didn't put her under wellness care. He just said, call me when you need me, basically when you're in pain. And so I grew up watching my mom in pain all the time. And she would wait until she got just in desperate need of an adjustment every 4, 5, 6 months. And then she'd go get one adjustment. She'd come home and she felt completely better. And I thought, wow, Dr. Johnson is a miracle worker and he is helping my mom. Little did I know how much he actually wasn't helping her because she, her neck ended up degenerating. But anyways, it was the seed that planted, and I thought, in between my mom's visits, I would rub her back and rub her neck, and she would tell me that I had such strong hands. And she was like, oh, I wish you could adjust me. And I really just wanted to take care of my mom. And so I thought, I'm going to grow up and be a chiropractor and help people who are struggling. So that's kind of how it all started. And then when I was 17, I wanted to make sure it was really what I wanted. So after I graduated high school, I started working for a wellness office. I didn't know. They offered to start getting me under care, but I didn't have any pain. I didn't know why I needed chiropractic. And I started getting adjusted. I started getting adjusted at least once every week. And that's when I realized that I wasn't getting sick anymore. I was a very sick child. I missed about 30 days a year, every year from school, as long as I can remember, because from one ailment to another. My immune system was awful, and I was just a sick little duckling. And when I started getting adjusted, I stopped getting sick. And in the last 15 years under chiropractic care, I think I've been to a medical doctor maybe twice because I just don't get sick anymore. So that's when I realized I have to open a wellness practice and really inspire people not to wait until they need it, but to be preventative and proactive with their health.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I love the fact that you kind of saw the power of chiropractic at a young age. It's really cool to hear your story about, wanting to help people. I think that that's such a core value of most chiropractors is you just want to perform services of giving better health to people. And I think that that's something that makes the chiropractic profession super unique, is that chiropractors have the healing touch. And it's something that you kind of think about, but it's in reality, it is the healing touch. And that's probably why your mom came back and she had, it seemed like she had gotten better. It's because I think, Dr. Jenna, so many times people don't ever get human interaction, human touch, and chiropractic is that. And that's what really, I think, inspires people's bodies to heal, is because chiropractors are healers.
We are healers in more ways than one, I believe.
So I know that you've been in the media world a little bit, and we were just talking off camera, and you said that you've actually produced and released 2 podcast previous to your next one, and I think that that's really cool that you've been producing media. And I think my next question is, kind of tailored to this, is what makes you unique in the chiropractic world. And I think that if you would like to elaborate about podcasting to people, I think that'd be a really cool thing to share.
Yeah, I'd love to. So in 2015, I got really burnt out in practice. I was really, I had pushed myself for 5 or 6 years to open this really successful office. And I opened my successful office, my dream practice. I reached, a high number of patients. And then I was just plateaued. I could not grow after that. I was kind of stuck for, like I said, 5 years. And this really got to me. It was like, why can't I be better? I know I'm meant for more. And at one point, I was really just kind of disenchanted with chiropractic in my office. And I was struggling with my first case of depression. And I really, at that point, just wanted to pack my bags and disappear to a deserted island where nobody knew me, and I could just start over and just get away from the responsibilities that I had. And at this time, I had met my mentor and coach, Dr. Ed Osborne. A lot of people know who he is, and he too had got sick in practice and couldn't do it anymore. And so he had to find a way to still add contribution and value to the people he is here to serve without that daily grind of adjusting all day. And I was just attracted to that. And at first I thought it was a way to make money. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds good. I love opportunities to make money. But really it began it was much deeper than that for me. It was about finding out who I am, what my gifts and talents are, and what I love, what would a perfect day or a perfect week really look like to me. And I think that's why I was burnout in practice, is I wasn't utilizing my gifts and my talents. I was adjusting spines all day, which there's a need for that. But my soul needed something more. My soul needed to express itself. And I knew that I needed to speak. I needed to have a platform to share a message. I didn't know what the message was going to be, but I just knew I had to start speaking. And that's when I first started in 2017. The podcast of Pursue Your Potential. I was looking for some outlet to just talk about what's on my mind, and personal growth and development was something I had just really known a lot about, and what I spent a lot of time invested in and inspired about and passionate about. So I started Pursue Your Potential, and that lasted for a couple months, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore. I totally feel like a fraud. So I took a time off and reconvened and figured out, okay, what is the next message I'm supposed to share? So I didn't give up at podcasting, even though my Pursue Your Potential didn't work. I then created Mend Yourself Well. I really wanted to instill in people this responsibility to take care of themselves. And although I think that that's an important message, and self-care is a buzzword, and everyone's talking about it and everyone's doing it and learning about it, that message too only lasted so long for me. And again, I got to this place where it's that's not the message I'm passionate about sharing. So I reconvened and took another break, and it was what I love and could talk about all day long is this journey of entrepreneurship and what it looks like to run a business and follow your dreams and run a chiropractic office and, make changes in your life that are more aligned with who you are and who you're supposed to be. And so I created the Dr. Jenna Show, which I launched in January.
Awesome.
And I even feel that there's a next level of that coming, another edition. First, it was just I wanted to speak to entrepreneurs. And now I'm realizing, and I'm feeling called, and I'm accepting that responsibility, that I think my message really needs to speak to female chiropractors, because I totally know what we go through and what it feels like and what we struggle with and how to support them, so that if I can help prevent someone else from getting burnout in practice, I would love that opportunity. And I think that there are plenty of steps. If I could do it all over again, there's some things I would do differently so I didn't get burnout.
Well, I absolutely love your enthusiasm, and I think that those that have experience in life, it's the recommendation for me to teach other people. So I think it's really cool that you stuck with what you were passionate about, which was making your voice bigger. And I think that so many people just need to establish themselves more. The reason that we were off camera or off recording talking earlier, and I said you sound like you've had some work with DeMartini. And the reason that we appreciate a guy like John DeMartini is because he helps so many people and contributes to so many people. And the reason that you were gravitating towards Ed Osborne the same way is because he's a great influencer. He helps a lot of people, and his contribution is high. And I think that most people, just like what you're doing with your shows, the Dr. Jenna Show, is becoming a higher level contributor. And I think that that's something that we should all aspire to once we hit a pinnacle in our life. And we should have a pivot moment. I talked to a guy last night. He's been coaching people for 30 years. And one of the conversations we got on was about chiropractors not having guilt for stepping away from full-time practice, and knowing that in life we do have transition moments, and that it's okay for your colleagues to see you doing something like podcasting, or it's okay for your colleagues to see you doing something like coaching, because in life our careers constantly evolve, and we constantly get new opportunities that present themselves to us. And I think it's super cool what you're doing, so thanks for sharing that.
Thank you. And you bring up a really good point about the guilt. Like, the guilt was so high for me when I started wanting to change and step back. And I look at that now, and I'm like, gosh, like we all are here to evolve and do our best. And, let's redefine our definition of success. Don't feel like you have to, follow what everyone else is doing.
Because they would do it their way and it would be their deal.
Yeah.
So do you have any favorite mantras or quotes or words of wisdom that really resonate with you?
There's so many, but I love that expression that if it both excites you and terrifies you at the same time, it's definitely worth doing. I think anything big and life-changing that's happened in my life has been that healthy combination of both, like terrifying but exciting. You have to do it. I think that's my go-to right now.
So what do you think you'll be able to accomplish in the future with all this podcasting that you're doing?
I would love to have a voice for female chiropractors to help them completely love their lives. I think we get into chiropractic with that, like, an ideal in mind that life is going to be amazing and chiropractic's going to be like this wonderful career, and then we get into the day-to-day stuff, and we get really lost. We lose track of our dreams. We lose track of why we got into chiropractic. We lose track of the joy and purpose and excitement that there really is to experience in life. And so I would love to just help women see that it's all around: the joy, the freedom, the passion, the excitement, that it's there for them, available at any moment, and then to just help them clear the cobwebs to find it.
I think that those are great motivators, and based on being a voice for the women's community, we're pretty well connected in the women's chiropractic world these days, so I would love to do some introductions for you to some amazing people that would probably be really good connections for you to help spread your word faster.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So now it's time for your favorite question. Where do you see the chiropractic profession heading in the next 20 years or so?
I think it's already on this path. I think chiropractic will be less of a complementary or alternative. I think it will be the go-to. I see signs of this already happening, which I love that. So we really need to we need to have more chiropractors out there to provide the service. And we need to have more chiropractors excited about not only providing the service, but being available to provide the service. I think I would love to see more chiropractors unite. I think there's so many of us kind of fight and say, well, you don't do it my way, so it's wrong. Or I would love to see there be more togetherness, more, like a sister brotherhood type of thing. I think that there's signs of this already happening, but I see the wars within as well. And I don't know. I would love to think about this question a little bit more. It's a good one to think about.
Yeah, it usually gets a lot of really interesting conversations started. But how do you think the profession might change if more chiropractors started doing podcasts?
Well, it would certainly raise the awareness of what we do. And if so, chiropractors could either speak to their patient base and educate and create awareness and teach, and so that message could share, and then chiropractors helping chiropractors, that message would then help those chiropractors help their patients. So I really see a beautiful ripple effect. The more chiropractic podcasts there are, whether it's, the business to business or business to customer, it's a win-win.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that you said there, and it sounds a little confusing sometimes, is who is their audience. So I think when we're talking to people that'll be listening to us, if you want to create your ideal audience, be crystal clear with that and stay on that track. If it's your patient base, make it directly related to your patient base. If it's your local community, make it directly related to your local community. If it's a larger picture like what we're doing with Chiro Hustle, then make it larger picture driven. I think that's one of the hardest things, Dr. Jenna, for people to really come to terms with is who is their audience and what will they be creating for them.
Yeah, I'm on the other end of experiencing that. I have, with my messaging, who am I talking to? And I want, I just now I'm realizing over the last couple of weeks, I actually want to talk to female chiropractors. There was this part of me that was repelling it, and I really think it was my limiting beliefs of who am I to share a message, and why are they going to take me seriously? And I was totally suffering from imposter syndrome, and I was blocking my very opportunity to speak to them. And as I got clear with journaling and talking to other people, and then seeing the results I'm already getting with a couple of my coaching clients who are chiropractors, it's so obvious that I really need to refine my message, and not just speak to female entrepreneurs, but to niche down and talk to that female-driven chiro entrepreneur.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And one of the things you said earlier in one of your comments was clearing out the cobwebs. And I think that when we think about the chiropractic profession, we're still coming out of the dark ages of confusion. I think it's we're coming through the confusion era of chiropractic. And now we're coming into this holy enlightenment era of clarity. And I think that we have to work really hard to develop this clarity. But like you said, if we do get more people out there disseminating information of podcasting and speaking to people in their community and interviewing people and getting the cultural conversation with wheels on it now, it's going to move a lot faster. It's like the chiropractors have been pulling around this thing with no wheels on it, and it hasn't been very easy to move. It's been very cumbersome, the explanation, because I really believe that chiropractors at one point thought that they had to talk to their patients like they talk to each other. And that's a huge confusion state for the person that's getting care, because now you're trying to put them on the same level of mindset as the actual practitioner. And I think me being not a chiropractor, when I started to understand how chiropractors kind of communicated to their patient base, I felt like it was kind of forced education. So we need to figure out how to package it better to where people don't feel like they're being, force educated into something that's on a doctorate level. And I think that creating more content like this gives people like an a la carte style approach that they can dip in and dip out and listen and educate. But it's not coming just from me. It's coming from you. It's coming from Dr. Ed. It's coming from the other people that have gone through the TPC podcast training.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Chiro Moguls, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Pete Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, Rhino Coaching, 5-Star Management, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Health USA, Max, Mahalo Wellness, and Chiro Expert. Let's hustle.
Yeah, and I think that's all great. And what that really reminds me of is when I made a change in my office. I was doing very much all of my day 1 and day 2 visits were very scripted, and like say this and say that. And I got to this place where it just wasn't working for me. I didn't enjoy it. Wasn't getting me results. And I threw that all out the window, and I just said, I have no idea what I'm going to say, but I'm just going to sit next to them, and I'm going to meet them where they're at. And I started doing that of just every single new patient in my office. I just met them where they were at, and I finally started connecting with these patients for the first time in 7 years of practice. I got to learn what it was like to actually connect with another human in my practice. And they don't want that fancy doctor. They don't want the white coat and the, okay, well, we're going to do this now. Like, they want to know that you can help them and that you care about them and that you've helped people with the same issue before. And I think the more people that have a podcast, the more that as a whole, as a collective, we will be able to reach more people where they're at, rather than try to make them be who we want them to be. Like, I want only patients that are this way, or only patients that are this way, or all my patients have to go through this system in my office. Like, that doesn't work anymore. Not for me anyways.
So, utilizing your podcasting, it sounds like a really cool marketing strategy to getting more practice members. What are some other key marketing strategies that you just can't do without?
I utilize Facebook. Facebook is just how I show up, and that attracts people who resonate with me. Marketing that I've done before that was, advertising or something very black and white where they didn't get to see who I was, would bring in even a sign on my outside of my office. Like, that doesn't always bring in the patient that will really resonate with me. So social media has been the way that I've grown my practice. I've only solely done that over the last several years as I made some changes, and I like the results that it brings. That, and then doing a really good job when they're there, and then patients refer.
Yeah, I love it. I just did a big training with Ed a couple weeks ago, and if anybody is out there listening, you don't know who we're referring to Dr. Ed Osborne. He started the first chiropractic podcast that got most of us spizzed up to go out there and do this stuff. So thank you, Dr. Ed. But I was doing a training with Dr. Ed, and he was talking to me about, how if we all position ourselves as the authority with the message, then we start sharing like a positive outlook on chiropractic, and then it starts to matriculate to the people that need it. And one of my goals was to get chiropractic outside the four walls of chiropractic. And I think that that's a huge thing that we have to lean into, and we have to develop systems and strategies to get it outside of our echo chamber, as we call it.
I love that. There, you definitely found a void, a need, like a problem and solution. I really love that.
And being connected on Facebook now, we're all just we have so much. My word of 2019 is access. So we all have so much access to each other. Now we just have to learn how to have relationships and communicate with boundaries with that stuff, you know? And if you can do that the right way, you can get anything that you want with communication at this day and age. I mean, like you said, you rely on Facebook. So many people have stripped themselves down to the fact that they can do anything digitally.
You're so right. You're on it.
So as far as digital and technology, are there any like specific apps that you like to do, or anything that you do to stay engaged with your community or your practice members?
I think it goes back to Facebook. I'm on Facebook a lot. I haven't jumped into the Instagram world very well. Just Facebook has worked for the last decade, so I'm kind of haven't jumped on the Instagram bandwagon, but I do love, I also love ClickFunnels. I love creating content. I have a 1-minute mending mindset that I created to help patients, like just the community members who want to get better, like physically, emotionally, spiritually. I created that where I drip a message in their inbox every day for 30 days just to help them jumpstart that mindset. We can get really stuck in a rut. So I love ClickFunnels to create courses and programs and free giveaways. So that's probably my go-to. And Dr. Ed has taught me, how to leverage ClickFunnels too and build strategy. I love my podcast. And as far as apps go, try not to be too techie. That's about it.
So going back to podcasting a little bit, when you first started this whole podcasting journey, what did you find was the biggest challenge or hurdle to get over?
Oh, the fear of being heard. The fear of like actually saying what was on my mind and what people would think about it. That was a huge fear of giving myself permission to have an opinion and voice it. Before I podcast, I mean, my word for 2017 was bold, because I didn't know how to be bold. I was very meek and timid, and I let people walk all over me. I was scared to have an opinion and voice it, and so podcasting was definitely that step into the holy crap, I'm going to say this, and so far it's been good. And I have to realize that whatever message I put out there, half of the people listening to it are going to like it and the other half aren't, and that's totally okay. But before I wanted everyone to like me, and I'm shedding that desire.
So what would you say to someone else who also wants to start a podcast, but they're struggling with that same issue?
I would say just go for it, and it's not going to be perfect when you get started, but just, refine it and just go for it and just take that step. I remember having a conversation with my husband when I was about to launch my third podcast. He kind of looked at me with those crazy eyes like, are you sure you want to do this the third time? Like, aren't you worried what people are going to think about you, because it's like your third try? And I told him, like, very easily it came up to me. For me, it was like, at least I'm doing something, and that it just clicked for him too. Like, yeah, she's absolutely right. How many people think about doing something and they don't? So it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be lasting. Just take the step forward and do it, and then go from there.
Yeah, I really love that. I think that just, you stick with it, and that's a really cool thing about you. And I love your enthusiasm and your ability to see the project through. And sometimes people, the best ideas that they could ever come up with, they don't even know how to like have a conversation with their friends or family about it. But when you actually take the steps to actually build something out, like a podcast, and become a voice, getting over those fears, living in your own, like, be here now moment. And that's really what the interview is. I think, just personally, there's not a greater art form out there to express yourself in than to have a positive conversation about a topic that you love. And I think it allows people to share a part of their lives that they never get asked. They just become assumed. And when you ask people these questions like, why did you become a chiropractor? These things are like very like deep rooted inside of your voice. And so many times we don't get a chance to tell those stories, but those are the ones that really make us who we are. So when we get a chance to ask you that type of depth of question, it's a chance for you to talk about your soul genius. And then asking you about your wheelhouse stuff. Tell us about podcasting, I think a lot of times we become assumed and we don't get a chance to actually share like really like who we are on a format that basically gives us a showcase of what makes us unique and awesome. And I think that that's what makes this podcast that we're doing so incredibly successful, is because we do give people the space to share who they are, what their big why is, and how they got to where they are today. And I just love doing what we do. I love what you're accomplishing doing your podcasts. I've actually never listened to one of your shows, so I'm going to start checking out the Dr. Jenna Show. I saw that the last thing we asked you, you mentioned something about your husband's eyes getting really big when you're going to go after another podcast. Tell us about his journey with you, and I know that he's going to be finishing up chiropractic school here soon in August. So tell us about what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so he was not into health, not into chiropractic when I met him, and he has completely redefined his life and his values, and just like has done a complete 360 with who he is and what he's accomplishing at 42 years old. He was in construction, and I was having my thriving practice. This was before my depression, and everything was great. And he saw me just kind of rocking and rolling in practice, and he didn't want to. He fast forwarded his life 10 years and thought, gosh, my hands hurt every day, my back hurts every day. I'm construction's really hard on my body, and he was getting scared. He didn't want to be a burden on me, later down the road. And so he thought, I want to go back to school. And he didn't know what he wanted to go back to school for, but he had always wanted that. And he thought about construction management, wind energy, but then he thought, well, where is that going to lead me after I get my degree? I'm going to be at the bottom of the totem pole. I'm going to, have to start all over. And then I was kind of joking one day, and I said, you go to chiropractic school? And he was like, I could. And I was like, oh yeah, totally. And it just when I say this, I get goosebumps again, because it brings me back to that minute where it was so for both of us, we just knew. I said it and I was joking, but not joking. And it just clicked, and we both got tears in our eyes, within 5 minutes, oh my gosh, I could. And then I said, well, I'll connect you with Parker. We live 30 minutes away from Parker. And it just totally clicked. And he was like, okay, let's explore this. And yeah, we could be in practice together. And he had already started his health transformation. And so he was all on board, and it was actually more his, what he wanted to do, and very aligned with what he wanted to do. It wasn't me influencing him, I promise. He picked his own path. And now he graduates. He graduates in 4 months.
Wow.
And he'll come join me in practice. I'll probably go down to practice just once a week.
Nice.
That was our goal all along. And he wants to, I'll go explore what I love to do on my time off, and he wants to jump in and be full-blown busy and on purpose. So, yeah, we're excited. We're really excited.
That is awesome news.
And thank you. He'll be 48 when he graduates. So, that's just another reminder to anyone, it's never too late. It's never too late to get started.
I love it.
So tell us a little bit about your hobbies. Are you in the middle of any good books? Do you listen to other people's podcasts?
I do. I'm definitely a consumer of podcasts and ebooks and coaching and all of that. So anything that's going to teach me something or expand my mindset, I'm all about. Right now, I'm listening to a book called The Influencer Effect, really talking to women. It's the subtitle's A New Path to Power for Women Leaders, just to like get more like, how do I become a better influencer? Anything that's going to help me or help me reach other people or help me help other people. I like to read. I do have hobbies. I didn't have hobbies before last year. I was just very much ingrained in how do I grow my practice and how do I do this. And I finally found a hobby, and I love to make jewelry. And my newest hobby is painting. So when I'm not busy creating podcasts or content or seeing patients, I love to dive into more of the arts side and create jewelry or paintings or whatever makes me happy.
Yeah, you kind of sound like me. I'm just so ingrained in my work and what I do, and people ask me what my hobbies are. I'm like, what's that?
Well, it's really good. I found that making space for a hobby really provides like a different type of joy that I don't get from work. It's like I can make a necklace in an hour and I have this like level of satisfaction, like, wow, like I created that from nothing. It's just like this, I get that from work too, but I work and then I have to wait for the results. So when you create something right then and there, it's just like this level of satisfaction that it just feels good.
That's why I like podcasting, because it's creative and it gives us satisfaction because it makes us feel like we've accomplished something, we've contributed to something, and then we get to make something really awesome. So if you asked us what our hobby is, you could probably easily slate it up as content creators, because that's really what we do in our spare time is we create content. And really that's as we spoke earlier, that's our sole genius, just like it is yours. We just have to find our avenues to do so, and then we have to give ourselves permission to do it.
Absolutely.
So we're actually coming up to the end of this episode, Jenna. What are some website or social media links where people can find out more about you?
I'm on Facebook. My business page is Dr. Jenna Zellars. On Instagram at the Dr. Jenna Show. My podcast, of course, the Dr. Jenna Show. And if you go to my website, it's drjennazellars.co, C-E-O. It has all my free resources, all my good free downloads. I have stuff for chiropractors, I have stuff for limiting beliefs, I have stuff for mindset, so a ton of free stuff on my website as well.
Fantastic. Well, this brings us to the end of today's episode. Is there anything you wanted to mention that we did not ask you about?
No, I don't think so. I'm honored to have had a chance to share my story and my journey, and hopefully it inspires a few people along the way.
Yeah, it's been really cool to get to know you and to do the interview with you today as well. I think that there's a lot of synergy moving forward with you and us, and we can definitely, help more people now that we're connected. And I think that one of the things that both of our mentors, Ed, would always say, we're all more alike than we are different. And that the more that we help each other, that thing that you discussed earlier on, that unity starts happening more. And then our messaging gets a lot more clarity. We move out of the dark ages of chiropractic, and we all start podcasting and sharing the beautiful truth of what chiropractic really is.
I love it. I'm on board, and if there's anything I can do to help you guys, please let me know.
All right. Thank you so much for being our guest today, Dr. Jenna, and we really just want you to enjoy the rest of your awesome day.
Thanks. You guys too. Have a great one.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.